The incident. The sun burned like molten brass over the cracked asphalt of Hollow Creek, Mississippi. It was one of those days where even the air carried a tension, heavy, thick humming with unspoken anger. The kind of day where time seemed to crawl, and every face that passed carried a history of judgment. Officer Ray Harkins leaned against his patrol car outside of Rosie's diner, his mirrored aviators reflecting the midday glare. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and had a way of standing that dared the world to challenge him. The town knew him. Some respected him. Many feared him. A black man stepped off the Greyhound bus that had just hissed to a stop at the corner. He was dressed in a sharp navy suit, his polished shoes a stark contrast to the dusty road. A leather briefcase hung at his side. He looked confident but calm, the kind of calm that unsettled men like Ray Harkins. The man's name was Malcolm Reed. He'd been gone from Hollow Creek for 15 years. The last time he'd walked these streets, he'd been just a teenager, running from police lights and prejudice. Now he was back for something much bigger. But no one knew that yet. Ray squinted, spitting a stream of tobacco juice into the dirt. He didn't like the look of the stranger. Too clean, too composed, and above all, too black to be walking like he owned the place. "Hey," Ray called, pushing himself off the cruiser. "You lost, boy?" Malcolm turned, his voice smooth but firm. "No, sir. Just heading into town." Ray's lips curled. "Town, huh? We got all kinds of folks here, but not many in suits like yours. You one of those salesmen?" "No," Malcolm replied. "Just here for some business." Ray took a slow step forward. "Business? What kind of business brings you to my town?" Malcolm smiled politely. "Your town?" That smile was gasoline on a fire. Ray's face tightened. "Don't get smart with me. You're talking to law enforcement." "I can see that," Malcolm said evenly. "And I respect the badge. I just don't appreciate the tone." For a second there was silence, just the hum of cicadas and the whisper of a faraway truck. Then with a sudden sneer, Ray spat, a wet, hateful sound, the tobacco hitting Malcolm's shoe. The world went still. Malcolm stared down, the spit glistening darkly against the polished leather. His jaw flexed once. Slowly he lifted his gaze. "You shouldn't have done that," he said quietly. Ray barked a laugh. "What's that supposed to mean? You gonna arrest me?" He stepped closer, his breath hot with chewing tobacco. "I've been on this force 15 years. I know my place here. You better remember yours." Malcolm's expression didn't change. "We'll see about that." He stepped around Ray and continued toward the courthouse, every eye in the diner watching. Old men whispering behind coffee cups, waitresses pausing mid-step, and even the bus driver staring in disbelief. Ray stood frozen for a moment, seething, watching him go. Then he shouted after him, "You come around here with that attitude again, boy, and you'll be on the next bus out. In cuffs." Malcolm didn't respond, but deep inside, Ray's words sank into the air like poison, and something in Hollow Creek shifted, even if no one realized it yet. The following morning, the police station buzzed with its usual rhythm, phones ringing, radios crackling, officers shuffling papers. Ray strutted in with his usual swagger, the king of his small domain. "Morning, Harkins," Deputy Cole muttered over his coffee. "Heard you had a little run-in yesterday." "Just handled a situation," Ray said. "Some outsider strutting in like he owns the place. Gave him a reality check." Cole chuckled uneasily. "You sure that's wise? Folks talking about the department lately, all this diversity nonsense coming from the state." Ray waved a hand. "Let 'em talk. Ain't nobody changing how I do my job." Then the chief's office door opened. Chief Grayson, an old man with thinning hair, came out, his tie crooked, his eyes weary. "All right, everyone, listen up," he called. "Got some big news. As y'all know, I'm retiring end of the week. Been my honor serving with most of you." "Most?" Someone snorted from the back. Grayson ignored it. "Anyway, the city council's been working with the state on appointing my replacement. We've got a new police chief starting tomorrow. They said he's got a strong background. Federal training, leadership commendations. Man's a real professional." Ray rolled his eyes. "Better not be some politician's cousin." Grayson gave a tired smile. "You'll find out soon enough. Meeting tomorrow morning sharp, 8 a.m. Everyone better be in uniform and on their best behavior." He disappeared back into his office. Ray leaned back in his chair. "Bet it's some paper pusher from Jackson. Probably never even cuffed a suspect," Cole shrugged. As long as he ain't from up north, Ray grinned. Yeah, that's the last thing we need. Later that afternoon, Ray stopped by Rosie's again. The same crowd was there, the same stale air of small-town gossip. He walked in like he owned the place, ordering coffee, nodding to familiar faces. Then he froze. At the far booth sat Malcolm Reed. Same crisp suit. Same calm eyes, reading a local newspaper like he belonged there. Ray's jaw clenched. You gotta be kidding me. He strode over, boots thudding hard against the floor. You again? Didn't I make myself clear yesterday? Malcolm didn't look up. You made yourself loud, officer. Not clear. Ray's voice dropped, cold and deliberate. You got smart mouth for someone who ain't from around here. I was born here, Malcolm said quietly, folding his newspaper. On Jefferson Street. You might remember my mother, Evelyn Reed, worked at the hospital. Ray blinked. The name stirred something faint. A memory of a nurse, long hours, polite smiles. He shook it off. Can't say I do. But if you're one of those Reeds, you should have stayed gone. Malcolm met his eyes now, steady and unflinching. I'm not here to stay gone. Ray leaned in, his tone venomous. You keep walking around like you're special and you're gonna find out quick who runs things in Hollow Creek. Malcolm smiled faintly. We'll find out soon enough. That night thunder rolled through the hills. Rain lashed against rooftops, washing the day's heat away. But inside Ray's head, the storm raged louder. He couldn't shake that man's face, calm, composed, unbothered. It burned him. It mocked him. He poured himself a drink, staring at his reflection in the mirror. Who the hell does he think he is? When morning came, the rain had passed, leaving the streets glistening. The police station stood quiet, the flag out front damp and heavy. Officers gathered in the main hall, adjusting uniforms, murmuring. The air buzzed with anticipation, a mix of curiosity and unease. Chief Grayson stood at the podium, clearing his throat. All right, everyone, settle down. Today we officially welcome the new chief of police for Hollow Creek. I expect respect, discipline, and cooperation. Let's give him a warm welcome. The room fell silent. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Then, through the doorway, Malcolm Reed walked in, dressed in a perfectly pressed uniform with the gold insignia of chief on his collar. Ray's heart stopped. Malcolm's eyes met his. Calm, composed, and unmistakably in control. Good morning, Malcolm said, voice steady. My name is Chief Malcolm Reed. It's an honor to be back in my hometown to serve this community. Fairly, firmly, and with integrity. The room was dead silent. Ray's face went pale. Malcolm continued, scanning the officers. I've reviewed the department's records. We have work to do. Starting today, this station will operate under one rule: respect. For the badge, for the law, and for every citizen we protect. He turned slightly, his gaze landing squarely on Ray. No exceptions. The silence deepened, a silence that cut through every layer of denial, prejudice and fear in that room. Ray's throat tightened, the weight of yesterday's arrogance crashing down like a hammer. He remembered the spit, the smirk, the hate. And now, the man he'd humiliated stood at the front of the room, as his boss. The room began to applaud hesitantly, unsure, but Malcolm's calm presence commanded it. He nodded once, professionally, and gestured toward the conference room. Let's begin. Ray didn't move. His body felt like stone. Cole leaned over, whispering. You're in deep now, man. Ray's jaw worked. He set me up. No, Cole said. You set yourself up. Ray didn't answer. He just watched Malcolm disappear into the room, surrounded by officers eager to impress. The same ones who'd once laughed at Ray's jokes now stood straighter, speaking softer. The power shift was instant, invisible, but undeniable. Ray clenched his fists. His career, his reputation, his pride, all suddenly hanging by a thread, but deep down, something else stirred too. Shame, fear, and a creeping sense that this was only the beginning. As the meeting went on behind closed doors, Ray lingered outside, his reflection warped in the glass door. He could hear Malcolm's voice inside, calm, commanding, filled with conviction. It wasn't just talk. It was leadership. Ray's stomach churned. The man he'd spat on was here to change everything. The department, the town, and maybe even him. he whispered to himself. Over my dead body. But inside that conference room, Chief Malcolm Reed was outlining a new vision, one that would turn Hollow Creek inside out before the dust settled. And that was when the phone on the front desk rang. An emergency call. A robbery in progress. 2 suspects armed and barricaded. Chief Reed, the dispatcher called out, panic in her voice. They're asking for you directly. Malcolm stood, his face tightening just slightly. Asking for me? Yes, sir, she said, trembling. They said they know you. From before, Malcolm's eyes darkened. The past he thought he'd left behind was knocking, loud and dangerous. He reached for his badge. Tell them I'm on my way. And as he walked out, Ray watched him go, unaware that this call would unravel secrets, force reckonings, and test the soul of Hollow Creek itself. Shadows of the past, the police sirens screamed through Hollow Creek like wolves in pursuit. Chief Malcolm Reed gripped the steering wheel tight, eyes fixed on the winding road ahead. The call replayed in his mind. The robbers knew him. They'd asked for him by name. That meant this wasn't just crime. This was personal. Ray Harkins sat in the passenger seat, silent. He didn't like the idea of riding shotgun to the man he'd humiliated yesterday, but the chief had ordered him to tag along. Orders were orders. Still, resentment churned in his gut like spoiled whiskey. Malcolm didn't glance at him. His focus was razor sharp. Report said 2 suspects armed. Inside the old hardware store near Jefferson. That area still active? Barely, Ray muttered. It's where all the junkies and dealers hang out. Should have been bulldozed years ago. Malcolm's knuckles tightened around the steering wheel. That's where I grew up, Ray blinked. What? Malcolm didn't elaborate. The cruiser roared around a corner, splashing through puddles, the lights flashing red and blue against the rain-dark streets. The old neighborhood was still there. Broken porches, boarded windows, graffiti on every wall. Coasts of poverty and neglect, Ray smirked. Guess you didn't get too far after all. Malcolm's voice was quiet but steel-edged. Far enough to come back and fix what people like you left behind. Ray clenched his jaw. People like me? People who think authority means ownership. Who think fear keeps order. It doesn't, it breeds chaos, Ray scoffed. Spare me the sermon. Malcolm didn't reply. He pulled up in front of the old hardware store, the cruiser's headlights cutting through the gloom. Broken glass glittered across the ground. Inside, shadows moved. Backup units arrived seconds later. Officers crouched behind cars, weapons drawn. The rain picked up, slanting sideways in the wind. Malcolm stepped out, commanding instantly. Hold perimeter. No one fires unless I say so. Ray frowned. You're walking in there alone? They called for me, Malcolm said. Let's see why. Ray hesitated, then nodded grudgingly. You got backup. Malcolm turned sharply. No, if they see you with me, it'll change the equation. Stay here. Cover the exits. For a brief moment, Ray saw something in Malcolm's eyes. Not arrogance, but weight. The weight of memory. Then Malcolm walked into the dark. The inside of the hardware store smelled of dust and rot. Shelves collapsed long ago. Water dripped through holes in the ceiling. The dim light from the doorway cast faint outlines across the debris-strewn floor. Malcolm's voice cut through the silence. This is Chief Reed. You wanted me. I'm here. From the shadows, a voice answered, low and shaky. Malcolm Reed. Well, I'll be damned. A figure stepped forward. Tall, thin, with haunted eyes. Tyrone? Malcolm whispered. Tyrone Lang. His childhood best friend. They'd grown up on Jefferson Street together. 2 boys with dreams of escaping. Malcolm had left. Tyrone hadn't. Now Tyrone held a gun. Beside him, a younger man, jittery and wild-eyed, pointed another weapon toward the door. Don't move, man! Don't you move. Tay. Tyrone murmured to his partner. It's okay. He's someone I know. Malcolm raised his hands, calm and steady. Tyrone, what the hell happened? Tyrone laughed bitterly. What didn't happen? World chewed me up, spit me out. You went off to college, FBI, whatever, and I stayed right here. Look around, man. Hollow Creek don't change. It just swallows people. Malcolm stepped closer, voice soft. This isn't the way to fix it. Tyrone's voice cracked. Fix it? You think they ever wanted it fixed? I tried, Malcolm. I worked that factory job until it closed. Then the bank took my house. Cops roughed me up for walking home late. Your new friends. Malcolm's heart twisted. You don't know what's changed, Ty. Oh, I know exactly what's changed. Tyrone gestured with his gun. You changed. You're one of them now. Malcolm's voice was low. I'm here to make sure no one else goes through what we did. The younger man, Tay, hissed. He's lying, man. Look at him wearing that badge. He don't care about us. Tyrone's hand trembled. Tay, enough! But Tay was too far gone, paranoia crackling in his eyes. They ain't gonna take me alive. Not again. He aimed, not at Malcolm, but at the door. Outside, Ray saw the flash. Instinct kicked in. He shouted, "Shots fired!" and rushed in. Malcolm saw it too late. No! Gunfire erupted. One deafening shot that shattered the silence. Tay fell backward, clutching his chest. Tyrone screamed, dropping his weapon and falling beside him. Malcolm spun around. Ray stood in the doorway, gun smoking, eyes wide. Son of a... Malcolm grabbed Ray by the vest, slamming him against the wall. I said no one fires. Ray barked back. He was about to shoot you. I had it under control. The other officers flooded in, shouting, securing the scene. Tyrone sobbed over Tay's body, shaking uncontrollably. Malcolm knelt beside him. I didn't... Tyrone looked up, tears streaking through the grime. You brought them here. You brought them. No, I came to stop this. Stop it? Tyrone's voice cracked into something feral. You started it. Malcolm froze, because he realized Tyrone wasn't talking about the robbery. Back at the station, the tension was nuclear. Reporters swarmed the steps outside, shouting questions through the rain. The first major incident under Hollow Creek's new black police chief had turned into a shooting. A young man dead, another in custody. Inside, Ray leaned against the wall, unrepentant. You can write me up if you want, Chief, but you know damn well I saved your life. Malcolm glared at him. You acted without order. You escalated what could have been resolved peacefully. Could have been, Ray scoffed. You think that junkie wasn't gonna pull the trigger? You're living in a fantasy. Malcolm's voice dropped. He was scared, not evil. There's a difference you'll never understand. Ray stepped closer. Don't get all high and mighty with me. You're just trying to make yourself look good for the press. Truth is, this whole department knows what you are. Malcolm's eyes hardened. And what's that, Officer Harkins? Ray sneered. A token, a prop to make the council feel better. Silence. The words hung heavy, poisonous. Malcolm stared at him for a long moment. Then quietly, you have no idea what I fought to get here. What it cost, Ray shrugged. Doesn't matter. You'll never belong here. Malcolm leaned in, voice cutting through him like ice. Neither will hate. That night, the town split clean in two. Half of Hollow Creek called Malcolm a hero, a man who brought calm leadership to chaos. The other half whispered that he was responsible for the boy's death, that he'd failed his own people. The news headlines twisted everything into politics, but Malcolm didn't care about politics. He sat alone in his office, staring at an old photograph. Him and Tyrone, age 12, arms around each other, smiling with the innocence of kids who still believed the world was fair. The knock on his door startled him. It was an older woman, silver hair, kind eyes. You're the chief? Yes, ma'am. Can I help you? I'm Ms. Lang, she said softly. Tyrone's mother? Malcolm rose immediately. Mrs. Lang, I'm so sorry about what happened. She nodded, trembling. He told me once, years ago, that if anyone could change this town, it'd be you. Don't let what happened today stop you, son. Don't let them break you. Tears pricked Malcolm's eyes. He's in custody. I'll do everything I can to help him. I know you will, she whispered. That's why I came. Because you're the only one who still remembers what right feels like. The next morning, Hollow Creek woke to chaos. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse. Signs, chants, anger, grief. Justice for Tay. End police brutality. Fire Chief Reed. Malcolm stood at his window, watching the crowd grow. The very people he'd sworn to protect now turned their rage toward him. Ray walked in, smirking. Told you this would happen. You can't fix this place, Chief. It's broken. Malcolm turned, unflinching. Then maybe it's time to rebuild it from the ground up. Ray laughed. You're outnumbered. The council's already talking about removing you. Said you've caused division. Malcolm's jaw clenched. Division existed long before I came back. At that moment, the intercom buzzed. Chief, you might want to see this. News crews live at the courthouse. Someone's giving a statement. Malcolm walked to the monitor. On the screen, Tyrone Lang, escorted in cuffs, being led into court, but his voice carried raw and furious over the noise. Chief Reed ain't no hero. He turned his back on us years ago. He's one of them now. The crowd erupted. Ray folded his arms, satisfied. Guess that settles it. Malcolm didn't move. His expression stayed unreadable. But behind the calm, something was breaking, Richter awakening. That night, rain again. Always rain when Hollow Creek bled. Malcolm sat at his desk long after midnight, staring at the police report. It was all wrong, the sequence of shots, the angles. The evidence didn't match the story. Then his door creaked open. It was Deputy Cole. Chief, he said quietly, there's something you need to see. He laid a flash drive on the desk. What is it? Malcolm asked. Cole hesitated. Body cam footage. From yesterday. Ray's unit. Malcolm frowned. He said it malfunctioned. Cole nodded. He lied. Malcolm plugged it in. The screen flickered. Grainy footage from Ray's vest cam. The view was shaky, rain streaking across the lens. Malcolm could be seen inside the store, hands raised, talking peacefully. Then, before any shot, Ray's voice came through. Target in sight. Taking the shot. A split second later, bang, Tay hadn't fired. He hadn't even aimed yet. Malcolm froze. His heart thundered. He executed him. Cole swallowed hard. If this gets out, the whole department burns. Malcolm looked up slowly, eyes burning with fury and resolve. Then let it burn. Outside, thunder rolled once more, but this time it didn't sound like rain. It sounded like reckoning, because tomorrow, Chief Malcolm Reed was going to confront the man who'd spit on him, lied to him, and killed an innocent boy. And Hollow Creek, for the first time in its long, dark history, was about to see justice. The reckoning. The storm that rolled over Hollow Creek that night felt biblical, the kind of rain that didn't just wash streets, but sins. Thunder cracked like gunfire in the hills, and lightning flashed across the rooftops, revealing a town trembling under its own ghosts. Inside the dimly lit police station, Chief Malcolm Reed sat alone. The glow of the body cam footage still shimmered on his computer screen, freezing the moment everything changed. Officer Ray Harkins raising his weapon, smirking, whispering, target in sight. Taking the shot. The timestamp blinked red like an open wound. Malcolm pressed pause. His reflection stared back at him. Tired eyes, clenched jaw, the heavy crown of truth on his shoulders. He whispered to himself, "You wanted to see justice, Ty. I'll give you justice." The rain hammered harder. Outside, Hollow Creek slept uneasily, unaware that by dawn the line between order and chaos would blur forever. The next morning, the station buzzed with the restless hum of scandal. News vans lined the block. The rumor had leaked that there was video evidence contradicting the police report. Every officer's eyes flickered with unease. Some whispered loyalty, others fear. Ray swaggered in late, coffee in hand, pretending nothing was wrong. "Morning, Chief," he said with a smirk. "Heard the council's calling a hearing about that shooting. Guess you'll need to look sharp or clean out your office." Malcolm didn't look up. "Close the door," Ray chuckled. "You want to talk man to man?" "Sure thing." The door shut with a soft click. The air grew heavy. Malcolm stood, holding a small flash drive between his fingers, the one Cole had given him. "You lied in your report," Ray shrugged. "I filed what happened." "You shot an unarmed man," Malcolm said, voice low and deliberate. "You killed Tay before he ever raised his gun." Ray's smirk faltered for half a second. "You're going to take the word of a junkie over mine?" "I don't need his word." Malcolm's eyes hardened. "I have video." For a moment, Ray froze. Then he laughed. A slow, nervous laugh that didn't quite sound real. "Body cams glitch all the time. Chain of custody's a mess. Who's to say it's real?" "I am," Malcolm said. "And so will internal affairs." Ray's voice dropped, venom creeping in. "You think anyone will believe you over me? You might wear that badge, but they still see you the same way they always have. You're an outsider with a title, that's all." Malcolm stepped forward until they were face to face. "I didn't come back here to be liked. I came to make this place answer for what it's done." "Starting with you?" Ray sneered, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of panic. "You go public with that and this whole department burns. You'll drag everyone down with you." Malcolm's voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. "Then maybe it needs to burn." That afternoon, the storm clouds broke just long enough for the town to gather outside the courthouse. The hearing had drawn everyone: officers, reporters, families, protesters. Hollow Creek had never seen this kind of tension since the old civil rights marches decades ago. Inside, the council sat behind a long wooden table, faces stiff with political caution. Mayor Donnelly, gray-haired and sweating, called the session to order. "We're here to review the events of the recent shooting under Chief Malcolm Reed's supervision." "Chief, you have the floor." Malcolm rose slowly, every movement deliberate. He could feel Ray's glare from across the room, the man's confidence cracking behind his uniform. "Members of the council," Malcolm began, voice steady. "A young man is dead, and while tragedy can come from chaos, this one came from corruption." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. He reached into his pocket and placed the flash drive on the table. "This device contains body cam footage from Officer Harkins's unit. It proves that the victim, Tay Henderson, never fired a shot. The bullet that killed him came from one of our own." Ray shot up. "He's lying. That footage was tampered with." "Sit down, officer," the mayor barked. Malcolm locked eyes with him. "You can shout all you want, but the truth doesn't need volume. It just needs light." He turned to the tech operator. "Play it." The lights dimmed. The video filled the projector screen, grainy, rain-streaked, but unmistakable. The sound echoed through the chamber, Malcolm's voice. "No one fires unless I say so." Then Ray's whisper. "Target in sight." Taking the shot. Bang. Tay fell. The room went silent. Heavy, stunned silence. Ray's face drained of color. The mayor leaned forward, whispering, "Dear God." Malcolm spoke again, quietly but with fire beneath the calm. "That is what we've been. That is what we must never be again." He turned toward Ray. "You didn't just shoot that boy. You shot every ounce of trust this town had left." Ray exploded, voice cracking. "You think you're a savior? You're nothing but a showpiece. You don't understand what it takes to keep order." Malcolm's tone sharpened like glass. "Order without justice is tyranny." Ray's words stumbled, rage collapsing into desperation. You don't belong here." Malcolm met his gaze one final time. "I do now." By evening, the video had gone viral. Local news anchors replayed it every hour. Leaked body cam footage reveals corruption in Hollow Creek Police. Chief Reed exposes officer in fatal shooting. Town divided as truth emerges. Protests turned into vigils. People began holding candles instead of signs. The chants changed too, and from "Justice for Tay" to "Thank you, Chief Reed." But while the street softened, the department seethed. Ray Harkins was suspended pending investigation, but rumors swirled that some officers were planning to resign in protest. The old guard, the ones who had run the station like a private club for decades, were losing their grip. Malcolm knew change came at a cost. He could see it in the sideways glances, the whispered curses. But he also saw something else, the younger officers watching him with something new in their eyes. Hope. A few nights later, Malcolm visited Tyrone in jail. The guards nodded him through reluctantly. Tyrone looked up from his cot, eyes hollow. "You here to tell me I was right?" Malcolm stepped closer. "You were angry. But I never turned my back on you, Ty. I was trying to fix it from the inside." Tyrone scoffed. "And what's that get you? A town that hates you?" Malcolm smiled faintly. "Maybe, but it gets kids like we were a chance to grow up in a place that's better than the one we had." For a long time, Tyrone just stared. Then he sighed, rubbing his face. "Tay was my cousin, you know. Dumb kid. Didn't deserve to die like that." "I know," Malcolm said softly. "And I promise you, his name won't be forgotten." They sat in silence, the hum of the fluorescent light above them the only sound. Finally, Tyrone muttered, "You really think you can change Hollow Creek?" Malcolm's eyes glimmered with that same calm fire. "No, but I can start." A week later, the Hollow Creek Police Department reopened under new leadership. Same building. New soul. Malcolm walked through the halls, the smell of fresh paint and coffee mixing in the air. Officers stood straighter. There was a new training room, new guidelines, and a massive banner above the roll call board that read, "Integrity, Courage, Accountability." He turned to his team, a mix of veterans and new recruits, men and women from every background. "From this day on," he said, "no one stands above the law. Not me, not you, not anyone wearing this badge. We serve with humility or we don't serve at all." The room was silent for a heartbeat, then filled with applause. Real applause. Not forced. Not cautious. genuine. For the first time, Hollow Creek's police department felt like something it had never been before. Honorable. That evening, Malcolm drove out to the edge of town. The sunset stretched in gold and crimson across the fields, and for once the air felt clean. He stopped by an old house on Jefferson Street, his childhood home. The porch creaked, the paint peeled, but it still stood. He sat on the steps, staring at the sky, the memories flooding in, him and Tyrone riding bikes, laughing, dreaming. Two kids who'd wanted to be heroes. He whispered, "We made it, Ty. Not perfect, but better." A voice behind him said, "Chief Reed?" He turned. It was Deputy Cole holding a folder. "Press wants a statement for the paper. You want to talk about how you brought justice?" Malcolm shook his head. "No, let the work speak for itself," Cole smiled. "You really think Hollow Creek can change?" Malcolm looked back toward town, where church bells began to ring faintly in the distance. "It already has. Months passed. Ray Harkins went to trial. The verdict: guilty of manslaughter, falsifying reports, and abuse of authority. He sat stone-faced as the sentence was read, but his eyes darted once toward the gallery and toward Malcolm, with something like regret. Malcolm didn't gloat. He just nodded once. Justice wasn't about revenge. It was about restoration. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. "Chief Reed, how does it feel knowing you exposed one of your own?" Malcolm paused, thoughtful. "There's no such thing as one of your own when wrong is wrong. Wearing a badge doesn't make you right. Doing the right thing does." The crowd went quiet, not from shock, but from understanding. Weeks later, a mural appeared downtown. It showed a young black boy looking up at a police badge shining like sunlight. Beneath it were painted the words, "Truth doesn't bow." Malcolm drove by it one morning on his way to work. He stopped the car, stepped out, and stood there for a long moment. No cameras, no fanfare. Just the quiet pride of knowing he'd turned pain into purpose. He whispered, almost to himself, "For you, Tay. For you, Ty, for everyone who never got a fair chance." Then he smiled, a deep, exhausted, beautiful smile, the kind that carried both sorrow and triumph. Epilogue. Months turned to a year. Hollow Creek wasn't perfect, it never would be, but it was changing. The kids who once ran from police now waved when cruisers passed. The diner that once whispered gossip now hung a photo of Chief Reed behind the counter, with the words, "Our hometown hero." And on Sunday mornings sometimes, Malcolm would visit the small community center he'd founded, where young men and women trained to become officers who served with heart, not ego. He'd watch them spar in self-defense drills, study ethics manuals, talk about fairness, and sometimes when one of them asked, "Chief, how'd you learn to lead like that?" he'd just say, "By being reminded what happens when you don't." That night, standing alone in his office, Malcolm looked out at the lights of Hollow Creek, flickering, imperfect, but alive. He'd walked through fire, faced hate, and still chosen hope, because real justice wasn't revenge. It was courage. It was resilience. It was love strong enough to stand its ground. He whispered one last line to the dark. "You can spit on a man, you can try to break him, but you can't bury the truth." Outside, the rain began again, soft, cleansing, endless, and somewhere deep in the heart of Hollow Creek, the truth kept burning.